Tipe makumbondo yendande sango. Tipe makumbondo yendande sango. Tipe makumbondo yendande sango. Tipe makumbondo yendande sango. Ondo ondo makomana. Ondo ondo ambuya. Tipe makumbondo yendande sango. Tipe makumbondo yendande sango. Ondo 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 mbuya sango rino pawanita sango sango wako tipe makumbondo yendande sango tipe makumbondo yendande sango tipe makumbondo yendande sango tipe makumbondo yendande sango ondo ondo makomana ondo ondo ambuya tipe makumbondo yendande sango tipe makumbondo yendande sango ondo 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 ambuya sango rino pawanita sango sango wako daidzai varume vanhora hondo daidzai varume vanhora hondo hondo wako daidzai varume vanhora hondo 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 vakomana hondo yave nguva yehondo yave nguva yehondo. There's 3 people that I need to prosecute this afternoon. I need to prosecute the sitting president. I need to prosecute his major opposer, Nelson Chamisa. And number 3, I need to prosecute their followers. I'm going to give reasons why ED must go and why Chamisa must follow him. And together, those Zimbabweans who are not seeing the light, we can no longer hold the revolution just because zvanzi Chamisa ane vanhu. Kana vane vanhu ngavavhise Mnangagwa. If they're not going to visa Mnangagwa, then we will have to create a third force. A third force is created because we don't want the first force. The second force is refusing to do its job, but it is defending incompetence. I'm going to prosecute Nelson Chamisa on grounds of incompetence. He is incompetent in the revolution that we are seeking as Zimbabweans. And the people that support him, I'm going to prosecute them also for tolerating incompetence. Because CCC supporters tolerate incompetence and fight for the protection of incompetence, thereby denying us a real freedom as Zimbabweans. We already know the crimes and sins of E.D. Mnangagwa. We already know the reasons why we no longer want him to be president. We have heard numerous videos, and there is a lot of evidence against him that proves that when he says Venevayo, he is just talking about his own children. When he says Nyika inovakwa nevenevayo, actually he's not even building anything, he is destroying. Who is destroying? Him and his children and his clan, because it is clearly a tribal issue. I have been looking at the economic outlook of Zimbabwe and also taking a look at other economic systems of other countries. And I begin to realize that in any economy, for GDP to grow, credit has to grow. Credit growth is essential in the growth of GDP. In fact, GDP cannot grow without the growth of credit. Because where does money come from? Money comes from the bank. The banking system creates money that did not exist before as credit or a loan to the general public. It is that public that works on the credit that they receive from the bank into some kind of business activity that brings about profit. Without that money creation from the bank, that capital, a lot of good ideas remain stagnant. That's what we get in economic stagnation, is because there is no available credit, or rather, there is a lack of liquidity in the market. That is the problem that the Zimbabwean economy has. Our banking system is highly illiquid. When we tend to use the US dollar, we become illiquid because of shortage of US dollar currency, since we do not print US dollar currency in Zimbabwe. It is printed by the Federal Reserve Bank of the United States. So our central bank is limited. But however, when we get to use our own Zimbabwean dollar, our central bank is not limited because it can print money or bring money into existence. Now, the trouble with that is that in that kind of environment where our currency is run by our central bank and our government, you need to have a government that is not going to abuse the printing press. The money creation that comes through credit is different from what governments do when we talk about printing money. When the bank creates credit for the sake of economic growth, it is good because that money that is printed is going to go towards some economic activity, or rather to oil an economic activity, to work on an idea that was already there. You get what I'm saying? And the money will go back to the bank at some point. It will be paid back, at least as far as accounting is concerned. Therefore, that is not inflationary. It is actually growth. It is necessary for growth. What is inflationary is what the Zimbabwean government tends to do, which is to use the Reserve Bank to print money for its own expenditure, money that it will not be able to pay back to the Reserve Bank and will never pay back, and therefore it increases Zimbabwean currency in an environment where we actually need foreign currency. Therefore, we use that Zimbabwean currency that the Zimbabwean government prints to bid the price of the US dollar very high in the forex market, thereby reducing the value of the Zimbabwean dollar severely. And since because we do not produce locally but we buy from outside the country, it increases inflation because we have to buy in US dollars. Why am I saying this, and why is it related to today's topic? It is related because I want to prosecute Edim Mnangagwa on failure to run the economy properly. And this failure of credit creation in our country is because of the failure of the banking system, the failure to regulate the banking system. We have a new Reserve Bank governor. I hope he is good at his job. Arbitrage, foreign currency arbitrage at the Central Reserve Bank by ZANU-PF connected officials is one of the reasons why our currency tumbles. Just because they've got access to a system that sells US dollars at a severely discounted prices. What they call the official rate is nothing but a loophole of using government connections to buy foreign currency at a depressed price. The real price of a foreign currency is always the black market rate, because the black market rate is essentially the rate that the free market believes in. But the so-called official rate is a rate that is determined by the government so that they will have opportunities of arbitrage. Well, the arbitrage at the Reserve Bank, and also what do you call it, the other government incentives that it gives to other industries, incentives like subsidies, are essentially the government paying to support those industries. Now, there is a good case to be made for different subsidies. The subsidies are done all over the world, it's fine. In the same breath, there is a good case to be made for the Reserve Bank to have an official rate, which is a cheaper foreign currency for certain industries and for certain purposes. But however, in Zimbabwe, that option is abused. You know, even if it was not abused, it must be clearly noted that every time the Reserve Bank has got its own rate, which is different from the black market rate, the difference is actually being paid for by someone. It is being paid by the taxpayers. So the government has to be prudent in how it administers that. So if there was indeed a real need for some sectors of our economy to access the US dollar at depressed prices because of our of what we do with the central bank, which is to have an official rate, which I am saying the official rate is cheap US dollars. The real value of the US dollar is the value that you buy the US dollar for on the street. So I want to say that there is legitimacy in that. However, the reality on the ground, what is obtaining in the Zimbabwean economy or the Zimbabwean market, is that that loophole is excessively abused by those who are powerful in industry, so that they end up having us to pay that subsidy of buying the US dollar. We are paying severely because the people that have got boys in the streets who take US dollars cheap from the Reserve Bank and they sell it at a higher price in the streets. They go back to the Reserve Bank with the same dollars to get cheap US dollars and come to the streets and sell the same US dollars at a higher price. That whole process of printing money causes the Zim dollar to lose value tremendously. And as the Zimbabwean dollar loses value tremendously, who do you think is paying? Everybody else who has got money in Zim dollars, which means everybody who is participating in the Zimbabwean economy essentially always loses via that. Remember that inflation and currency depreciation are also taxation. Taxation isn't only the money that you pay, like as in payee, or that 14 or 15% tax when you buy stuff from the groceries that you collect. I mean, that the revenue authorities collect. That's not the only tax. Inflation is a form of taxation, and also currency depreciation is another form of taxation. So when I'm saying that the people that have got access to the arbitrage at the Reserve Bank are severely or excessively uh, they, they are severely subsidized by the general public, and the public pays through a taxation, and that taxation is inflation, and that taxation is currency devaluation. So when your money is losing value, okay, you must know where the value is goes to. The value is essentially is transferred to those that have got access to central bank money. I've been making arguments. Recently, I did speak to one of my favorite economists in Zimbabwe, Dr. Atmaya, whom I really believe must be the next finance minister. Zimbabwe will be in good hands. I've been discussing with my brother, and he has been bringing to light some of the items that the Zimbabwean economy needs to focus on. And the things that I'm talking about here are what we were discussing. And let me and I want to say that I do believe that we need to close that loophole at the central bank by having one price for the US dollar. And that US dollar must be bought between banks, private banks and private individuals must trade Zim dollar versus US dollar without government intervention. The central bank can come in as a regulator to ensure that there is no criminality involved. But the central bank must stop supporting even the critical industries that need US dollars at a cheap price. They must buy the US dollar at the market. What that is going to cause is that it will cause a proper price discovery of the US dollar. Once we have got a proper price discovery of the US dollar, you will essentially stop the bleeding. The currency devaluation, excessive devaluation will stop. Okay, the currency will finally find a certain price. Okay, there's many other factors that lead to the devaluation of the Zimbabwean dollar besides arbitrage. But I do believe that arbitrage, the opportunities and the abuse of the power of the Reserve Bank is actually one of the reasons why our country's currency keeps on tumbling. If we close that loophole, we will be left with other reasons why currencies lose value, but they are not really excessive. They are much minor. Okay, and and this is also the of another day, something which I'm not going to deal with now. But because of that, of the abuse of the Reserve Bank, it is because our president and also the people who are whenever who are running our economy have got a special interest. Their interest is abusing state authority for personal gain, abusing state authority for creating loopholes that seemingly on paper are created to alleviate some kind of pain somewhere. These things are subsidies. Subsidies are good, but at the same time, it is those subsidies that are used as loopholes by those that are in the know-how, those that have got the power to do so. So, because of such an abuse of power, it must go. Why must it go? It must go because it is his job to ensure that those loopholes are closed. If he says he's not participating in those loopholes, then how is he letting those loopholes to be still open and abused? Because of that abuse, it means that he is incompetent as a president of the nation, and he has failed to recognize the spirit of the law, not just the paper law. You see, something about, I'm not a lawyer, but I do know that when we make a law or a government statute, whatever they call it, there is written words that are written that this is not allowed, this is allowed. Then there's also the spirit of the law, meaning that the reason why, the reasoning behind the law to be set up in the first place, there is something that we are trying to achieve. So it is possible for someone to follow the law, the letter of the law, but actually defeat the spirit of the law. So if it is illegal for some people to have access to reserve bank currency at cheap rates, it is legal by law, by paper. But the spirit of that law is defeated because you end up not accessing that currency to address the reason why we created that uh, uh, um, special facility in the first place. But now you are using it to create arbitrage opportunities for yourself, bleeding the economy dry, and you are saying that you're not going to prosecute it because of some other way in which you managed to work out the accounting or the legal accounting, to hide behind company structures, to obtain legality. Where in actual fact, you do understand that the spirit of the law is being abused. So if Edim Nangaga does not understand that, we prosecute him for not understanding that. As the president of the country, he needs to understand that. And he needs to be the one who's at the forefront of fighting that kind of corruption in Zimbabwe. Our economy is bleeding whilst it is at the helm, whilst dancing. We need, therefore, to remove him from power. Whilst we are at it, his major opponent, Nelson Chamisa, him too must be sidelined. Why do I say so? Nelson Chamisa has failed in two election cycles. In those election cycles, he has been claiming that the elections were rigged. Perhaps he is right, perhaps he is not. But on two occasions, he has failed to produce the V levels, which is the evidence that the elections were rigged. I do not want to go into the details of that case, but I want to assume that the elections were rigged. Let us move along with that in mind and say the elections were rigged. So if elections were rigged two times, and that is Chamisa two times, before Chamisa it was Morgan Swangirai, even the claim was the same, the claim of rigged elections. So Chamisa essentially inherited an MDC that has been having its elections rigged against. Therefore, the issue of elections being rigged or elections management or rather election mismanagement was not something new to Nelson Chamisa when he actually went for the first elections. He knew that ZANU-PF for rigs, but he went for them anyway in hope that there's going to be a change. For some reason, he failed his attempt of getting himself, he failed to address the situation. He went to the court, he failed. I don't blame him for failing at the court. But then 5 years later, in 2023, he goes to the same elections. Now, with Zimbabwe Election Commission worse than the 2018 one. The delimitation report, terrible. Everything concerning the elections was indicating that the elections were not going to be free and fair. But he went ahead anyway, which I believe was a systematic way or an underhanded deal of giving Mnangagwa legitimacy to oppress us for the next 5 years. Nelson Chamisa went about promising people that the elections he's going to defend the people's vote. So come 2023, Mnangagwa says they just declare without evidence that 2.3 million people voted for Iti Mnangagwa and 1.8 million people voted for Nelson Chamisa. What did Nelson Chamisa do about it? Sadak this, Sadak that. Who is Sadak? Who is Sadak? What has happened to Sadak? Nothing. Chamisa has left the Triple C and is now starting something new so that we can keep on waiting for 2028, where he knows very well that the Zimbabwe Election Commission is not going to reform because it's not putting any pressure. Chamisa, I'm prosecuting him for not putting pressure to change the election, the way that we deal with our election, and I am also prosecuting him for failing generally to lead the revolution. He might have the people, he might have the support of the people, but also I'm going to prosecute even the people that continually, perpetually follow an idea that does not work. Now, where does that lead us to? It leads us to a certain understanding that the third force, okay, the force which will eventually remove ZANU-PF from power, must understand that we can no longer go forward, or we can no longer allocate our freedom to Nelson Chamisa. We can no longer pin our hopes to Nelson Chamisa. Now, the followers of Nelson Chamisa are going to scream and say, no, Chamisa is fine. Let them keep on screaming, Chamisa Chete, but we cannot let their screams stop us from leading a revolution. To understand? So if you're a Triple C guy, or since now Chamisa is no longer Triple C, I don't know what he calls himself, or a DAZ or whatever. Let me just say, if you're a Chamisa guy, you say you go with Chamisa wherever he goes. Good for you. But what I am saying is that as you go with Chamisa, have fun there, and those who go to with Iti Mnangagwa have fun there. But we, the third force, begin to move in a direction That is got nothing to do with Edim Nangagwa, nothing to do with Nelson Chamisa. In fact, we prosecute both of them and both of their supporters. The Zimbabweans who support Edim Nangagwa are wrong because it is is an oppressor, it's leading an oppressive system. The Zimbabweans who support Nelson Chamisa are also wrong because Nelson Chamisa is incompetent and will never lead Zimbabwe into a revolution, and it's got no idea of how to take us forward. If millions of Zimbabweans, whether I do not know through whatever psychological defeat, they've been defeated psychologically to follow Chamisa. I am gonna say it again. All the people that support Nelson Chamisa are defeated psychologically. Because at the end of the day, this guy has been failing year in, year out, whilst they are looting in the gold mafia. And you people in Triple C keep on supporting. Well, it tells me that for us to go forward, we have to recognize the error in our citizens, the error in the Triple C citizens, and the error in ZANU-PF people, ZANU-PF supporters. The error of both of these camps is that whatever they are doing, they dilly-dallying back and forth, it's not going to take us anywhere. And therefore, we can no longer be looking unto Chamisa, or whether it's Triple C or a DAZ or a ABC, whatever he is going to be. We can no longer be looking unto Chamisa to lead the revolution. Someone will say, no, let Chamisa lead. Okay, I didn't stop you from leading. I didn't. We are going to support Chamisa. Good, I didn't stop you from supporting Chamisa. Carry on supporting Chamisa. But what I'm telling you is that as you support Chamisa, as you move for Chamisa, you're going nowhere. Because Chamisa is not interested in removing ZANU-PF from power. He's not. He's just wasting all of us time. So me and the people who believe in the third force are not going to be hoodwinked, are not going to be stopped. By the way, I need to inform those who are part of the third force that you do not have to be bothered about what Nelson Chamisa and Triple C people are doing. You do not need the majority to effect a change in any revolution. It has been scientifically proven that only 3% of a population can cause a major political upset. Zimbabwe has got 15 million people, I guess. 3% of 15 million is 450,000. 450,000 people are enough to upset ZANU-PF. We don't need to be Chamisa. So we don't need Chamisa and Evan Wake. They can go wherever. We don't need ZANU-PF, never Vacho. They can do whatever they want to do. So we don't need ZANU-PF, we don't need Triple C, we need us. We need few people. Let me tell you, let's just look even at the Bible. Let's talk at Gideon. When God set out the Israelites free using Gideon, Gideon had an army of 10,000, and God had to remove 9,700 because they were not fit for war. Only 300 were fit. What am I saying? I'm saying that if we're going to have God in it, God does not need majority. God needs a few people that are dedicated to the cause, who understand who's going to take the leadership. You understand? Just like Gideon had 300 men, we in the third force need to be few. We need few critical skills in our revolution. We need organizational skills, clear indication of what we want and where we are going, proper structures and valid reasons and resources on why we are removing ZANU-PF from power and why we are dumping Nelson Chamisa, and having a clear understanding of our goals, that is our interests. We do know that Edim Nangagwa's interest and his Benevayo is to steal and the resources of the country, is to create these arbitrage opportunities and create all these other loopholes that are seemingly legitimate, but they are actually ways in which they can siphon the wealth of the nation systematically by just to a chosen few. And one of the things that I am prosecuting them on is on failure to keep the banking system intact, because it is the banking system that we need to be intact so that it can be able to create credit. If you take a look at the South African economy. People in South Africa do businesses, buy cars, buy houses through credit. You do not have to have 10 million rand to start a business. You just need 1 million rand. The bank will borrow you 9 million and you are good to go. But in Zimbabwe, for a 10 million rand business, you need to have the whole 10 million rand on yourself. So if you have got a good business, but then you have got a problems with cash flow, you cannot go to the bank and ask for money because the banking system in Zimbabwe is destroyed. By the way, the banking system in Zimbabwe is destroyed because our currency is not stable. The South African rand is stable, so their banks are able to hand out credit to the South Africans because the South African rand is stable. Man, the Zimbabwean currency is not stable, so banks are not eager to lend out the money. Even if we were dealing with Zimbabwean dollar that we create in Zimbabwe, the banks will need to be in an environment where that Zimbabwean dollar is stable so that they can also make long-term loans. It's not just short-term loans that we've got a problem with. We need long-term loans, 5-year, 10-year, 20-year loans. So if you're going to enter into a 20-year loan agreement that is denominated in Zimbabwean dollar, the bank has to have some sufficient confidence that in the next 20 years that Zimbabwean dollar will still be valuable. But because we know that of how the government runs our currency, so there is absolutely zero confidence in the Zimbabwean currency. So our banks make a prudent decision of not committing to long-term loans to the local population. That is why we are not able to buy houses like 20-year lease, or to buy cars, or to have opportunities of borrowing large amounts for the industry. I mean, for various businesses and industries, because no, not that the banks are evil, but the banks are there to make profit. They need also to protect themselves, so they would rather not borrow, even if it's in dollars. I would understand if it is if the debt is denominated in US dollars, but of course there are also other terms and conditions, or other reasons that may make it difficult for the banking system to offer credit to the Zimbabweans in a large scale manner. I want our economy to be able to be run in a credit. I mean, I want us to have a credit system just like South Africa, just like the British, the Americans, the Chinese, everybody in every country that is properly running, there is a credit card. You get a credit card because the currency is stable. The currency is stable because their reserve banks are not involved in arbitrage, or their politicians are not involved in arbitrage opportunities via the reserve bank, which is a systematic way of siphoning, or rather transferring wealth from everybody else in the nation to the politically connected few through taxation, which is the devaluation of the Zimbabwean dollar and also inflation. That is done systematically. That is done by men and women who know what they're doing, who understand who is going to pay at the end of the day. And this is just, as I said in the previous video, that our country is run by very lazy people. These people are so lazy, they don't want to work. What they do is that they want to siphon wealth of other people, siphon systematically using extremely educated systems like arbitrage via the Reserve Bank, like using GMP, what you call it, subsidies, and other government subsidies, and other nefarious ways that we have not even spoken about on this channel because perhaps we haven't even discovered them. But essentially, they're just loopholes of value transfer, wealth extraction. That's when you work hard as a Zimbabwean, whatever value is accrued to you, they have created systems of via backdoor transferring that wealth from you to them. You'll be saying, Marianne, inflation. No, it's them who caused that inflation, knowing very well that essentially when your money it gets eaten by inflation, they planned it so that you do not know who took your money. Nobody came to your door and forced you to hand money to them. Nobody did that. Nobody stopped in a car with a gun and say, hey, bring a bank card. No, they didn't do that. You just woke up in the morning and told that, Zimbabwean dollar donor. Hey, that is stealing. okay, has a systematic planned system of stealing, and Venevayo are behind this whole, all these shenanigans. It is Venevayo. That's why they must go. And Chamisa doesn't understand that he's just sitting there hoping that he must just be positioned within unit opposition. Away with Chamisa and ET. Okay, so Chamisa, I am not prosecuting from being a ZANU-PF project, even though I believe he is. But I'm prosecuting him just only solely for being extremely incompetent and not serious about matters of our freedom. You see, if Nelson Chamisa is leading a revolution, you must know that that revolution he is leading is about our dreams, our lives, the lives of our children. So we cannot let Nelson Chamisa monopolize that revolution, and he plays with it in jail as if he is dealing it with in jail something useless. It's our lives. Our lives matter. Therefore, I am firing him from opposing ET, and I'm taking over, and I will oppose ET the best way I believe is possible for us to have a real revolution, a change of government, a change of the way we create our governance systems, starting with the reserve bank, making sure that our currency is stable. So there is a tremendous importance in keeping a stable currency. A currency must be stable. It's a must. It's one of the tenets that will unlock great potential in our banking system. When we've got a stable currency, where we know that there is no arbitrage going on, so we're not going to behave currency devaluation and inflation. As I said, that currencies devalue anyway. There's other factors, but this one in Zimbabwe is self-inflicted pain. Rather, it is actually it is systematically created by the Venebayo. These Venes are just stealing our wealth. Just because they are running the country, they are the ones who are the rulers, who are the rule makers. You see, we are not led. I'm prosecuting Mnangagwa for not leading us, but ruling us. There's a difference. Leaders are there to create systems that work for all of us. They'll be at the front, that's leading. Rulers are there to do as they please. They feed on us. Rulers, instead of working for us, they feed on us. Mnangagwa nevake, instead of leading the nation of Zimbabwe into progress, they are actually feeding on the labor of the citizens of Zimbabwe. Because they have destroyed the banking system, our monetary system and banking system, and they crippled the bank's ability to create credit, completely eroded confidence in the financial markets. They have therefore killed multitudes of business ideas, of genius ideas that could have that would have been obtaining in our Zimbabwean landscape. Our dreams are eroded just because somebody are not a good US dollar on the street. You see, that person who's selling US dollars in the street does not understand that they are actually destroying the dreams that have got nothing to do with selling US dollar in the streets. Because of that, of the US dollar in the streets, our currency is depreciating. Therefore, banks cannot give out loans, and therefore, some ideas that were supposed to be pursued in Zimbabwe can no longer be pursued. Because of that, those ideas, some of them end up being pursued in other countries and reaching other countries. Some of them never get pursued at all. Even if the people go to other countries, they can no longer pursue their dreams because they're treated as third-class citizens. They're treated as foreigners and with limited rights, and therefore cannot actually self-realize. A Zimbabwean in foreign lands cannot dream of self-actualization. We are just concerned about papers. You do not need foreign papers. You need to go to your country, get your national ID and your national passport to go out if you need to, but you don't need to go out of the country. You need the paper that you need is your national ID and your birth certificate and your bank account and your access to resources. When we talk about access to resources, another thing I'm going to prosecute Itim Mnangagwa on is a severe lack of understanding of what is the resource of Zimbabwe. To him and the ZANU-PF cronies, the resources of Zimbabwe is just the minerals and the land. I would argue that that is just the primary resource that we keep on focusing on. But the major resource that Zimbabweans has is the ingenuity, the brain capacity, the systems that we would have built in Zimbabwe that are no longer present. You see, some systems are not tangible, they are intangible. Talking about a legal system, talking about health systems, talking about community systems, talking about artificial, in technological systems. All those systems, some of them which are intangible and invisible, are lead to a service economy, rather a large economy that is well diversified and is able to create jobs and potential GDP growth that is compounding. On a year after year, and these things that are even in the unknown, even right now, you and I do not know what another child, a Zimbabwean child, would have given birth to. And because they gave birth to that in a system of governance that is good, it would have led to other people to use that system as well to give birth to other things that are going to be used by other people in order to use to create other things. So as you can see, I'm explaining something which is deep, something which is a web of creativity into the great unknown. So that creativity into the great unknown is not known. The only thing that we know that it is not happening. It is not happening because primarily Idim Nangako and his Veneval are only focused on the diamonds and the minerals on the ground. To them, it's all about that and the land. I've always said that when we fought the war to get the land, it's not really the land per se that we are fighting for. What we are fighting for is economic opportunities. It just so happens that during that time, land ownership had a greater weighting in determining your economic standing. Understand? But in this day and age, in this economy, we don't all need to be farmers. We actually don't all need to be miners. Not all of us should have a lithium mine. Not all of us should be mining gold or diamond. No, the industry is fine with a few players. Even agricultural industries. I would argue that we need to have fewer farmers than lots of farmers. We need to have fewer farmers who farm large scale and are doing it as a business. We also need fewer what you call it, miners who do it well, organized. There is multiple other avenues of participating in the economy, only if the economy is run by proper systems. When we have got all these multitudes of systems, then people can get jobs. Take a look at the United States, take a look at Silicon Valley. What do they produce in Silicon Valley? It used to be silicon. All right. The United States military. Interesting. It is a military established, mostly Silicon Valley companies. They still have a great relation. That's why I always say that Google, YouTube, Facebook, they're just an extension of the US military. But anyway, that's not what I'm talking about. The reason why I bring the military is because our Zimbabwean military does not understand that part. It doesn't understand that as a military of Zimbabwe, it should have interest in developing further industries, not just mining sector, not just the agriculture. The economy is much bigger, much broader than that. Silicon Valley in California is now involved in so many different avenues of IT. Right now, when we talk about deep knowledge, we talk about machine learning, we talk about what is it? All these variables of IT engineering that are popular these days. All of them are coming because of the funding in Silicon Valley. And they are not tangible things. These are intangible things. These are ideas that these Americans are using. Mark Zuckerberg becomes a billionaire. What tangible thing is he selling? Facebook is not a tangible product. It is an idea of how to bring people together. You know, the social network that is used, or rather, that is used to solicit advertising money and also sale of information and other ways in which Facebook makes money. But it's made billions. Google has got multiple companies that do not deal in tangible things. Take a look at Jeff Bezos, who has been able to redefine all industries and creating and using his online presence to redefine how people buy and sell goods and services. He's he's not largely selling his own product, though they have some, but he's got an idea that because the American system is stable, it has allowed him to excel. These are the things that I am looking at in Zimbabwe, things that are lacking because our leadership in Harare does not understand that. They are seeing the low-hanging fruits, which is pane lithium. So there's nobody who must touch that lithium. Therefore, let's not build the country. So let us destroy the country so that they can get passport and go to other countries. So that when they are gone, we are left with the lithium, diamond, and gold to all of it to ourselves. That is the level of thinking. The thinking is here. We're thinking up to here. There is a long way to go. There is a big, it's an ocean of ideas. It's an ocean of possibilities that Zimbabwe can become. But the Mnangagwa regime is limiting us to just a chibi, a small pond, a small little murky waters, dirty waters, when there is a whole reef, the whole lake of fresh water. Okay. It's amazing that when Itim Nangagwa wanted to remove Robert Mugabe, the title of his plan, according to Jonathan Moore, it was called Blue what? Blue Ocean, Open Blue Ocean. I forgot the name, but it's got to do with ocean, or unlimited waters. To them, the unlimited waters was taking the gold and the diamonds and creating other arbitrage opportunities for themselves. You call that an ocean, Nangago. It's not an ocean. It's a small little pond. I want to introduce in Zimbabwe an ocean. You understand? A huge potential for growth. I will lead the nation and not rule the nation. There's a difference. Leaders eat last. Leaders don't eat their own people. Leaders seek for food to feed their people, not feeding on their own people. That is the difference between my policies and Itim Nangagwa and Nelson Chamisa's policies. Nelson Chamisa feeds on Zimbabwe's desire for a change. Nelson Chamisa feeds on the lack of capacity of the Zimbabweans to be a well-organized unit that can take down ZANU-PF. He monopolizes the opposition and subsequently monopolizing the opportunity of transforming our lives. He takes that monopoly and goes to the mafia in Harare and trades that so that he can stay happy and incentivized, having access to whatever incentives that Nelson Chamisa has. In the meanwhile, our revolution is stuck in the abyss. My name is Ngobaniso, and I propose that we change all of that. I am prepared and I am willing to lead not just the revolution, of destroying the weak system that ZANU-PF is following right now, but also to be involved in the creation of the next age of the Zimbabwean revolution, an age in which our economy is viewed as the ocean. There's a lot to explore. There is a lot even to leave behind for the future generations. But for that to happen, whenever you must either understand what is at stake and step aside so that we can build a successful nation. How we're going to do it is the reason why I'm inviting you to this space. As I said, we do not need a whole army. Just like Gideon, we just need just 300 men. Men and women who understand, who are placed in strategic places, who understand that the interests of the nation have to change. From focusing only on the nation's resources and destroying people's lives, because whenever they are competing, see the way they whenever you compete is this: for them to eat, people must starve. They believe that if people are not starving, they cannot eat. I've got rather a different proposal, a different understanding, and an ability and wisdom to take us forward in a transformative way, in which we can follow strategies that will uplift millions of our people from poverty, create multiple income streams that could aid us to all participate fairly, equally, to deliver what is true freedom to all the Zimbabweans. For that to happen, it is essential that as the third force, we do understand that ZANU-PF will support us, Triple C will support us, supporters of ZANU-PF will support us, and supporters of Chamisa will support us. We are left with just a few of us. It is the few of us. I do not need us to be in the majority. The majority is usually wrong anyway. The few of us that are left behind should charge ahead with a multitude of various strategies across societal strata, not only in the country, but also in the international community, not only in the church, but also right inside the mafia unit itself. We need to be able to work with various people of different backgrounds and different persuasions to create a common ground that will effectively serve all men. As I said, my name is Ngobanizo, and I've begun the process of reimagining the future. The question is, do you want to join me, or you want to be the people who are going to read about it as history in the future? All is God. Have a great afternoon.